The world has got a lot of noise in it. It's loud. Truth is confusing and mocked. Darkness celebrated. And yet, one ancient chapter in the Bible cuts through this noise with a sword. Romans chapter 1. This isn't going to be a gentle devotional. This is a declaration of war. God's war against sin, lies, and rebellion of mankind. And it begins with Paul, a servant and a soldier of God, carrying some of the most explosive words the world has ever heard. So good morning. This is Rod with RA Salt and Silver. Please comment, like, share, subscribe so that more people can get the word of Jesus. That is my goal in doing these videos. Once again, I'm not a pastor or a preacher or trained in any way. I'm just kind of going through the Bible, finding things, and trying to share it with people so to get these words out. But let's get into it. So Paul comes into history here with fire and fury in his bones, and his words even. But Paul says he's a slave of Christ, an apostle, set apart for the gospel of God. And this gospel wasn't invented by men. This isn't a new philosophy. This is an ancient promise whispered by prophets, carried through the generations and fulfilled in Jesus. Now, Paul's mission is simple, is bringing the obedience and faith to all the nations, not just the Jews, but all nations. Once again, this was one of those unheard of things back in those days. And the Jewish leaders didn't love this, but he went to Rome, right? And the empire that thought it ruled the world at that time was very powerful. And then Paul drops some pretty good lines in this chapter. I'm not ashamed of the gospel. Are we ashamed of the gospel? He wasn't ashamed of a crucified king, of a message the world calls foolish, and they still call it foolish today. Not ashamed of a truth that confronts us all of our hearts. Because the gospel is power. It's not advice. It's not an inspirational speech. It's true power. Power to save, transform, and resurrect our dead hearts. For Jews and Gentiles alike. Because God doesn't show favoritism, only grace. But in this gospel, one of the best parts of this, it doesn't take our human effort, not any kind of religious achievement or religiosity, but righteousness of God. We get it by faith, living in faith, sustained by faith, faith in Jesus. And then the tone shifts and the sky gets dark. Paul reveals the other side of the righteousness, God's wrath. It's not rage and it's not a temper, but it's a holy, measured judgment against all who try to suppress the truth. Because humanity's problem isn't ignorance, it's rebellion. And God has made himself perfectly clear. His creation and its very fabric of existence comes from his eternal power, his divine nature, and his fingerprints are everywhere. But humanity looked at the Creator and says, we're going to choose your creation instead of you. And today we still do this. Like it's still a problem today. So God, well, he gave them over. I mean, that's pretty terrifying. When a society pushes God away long enough, he's going to let them have what they want. Same with me, the same with you. And the spiral begins. Our truths now exchanged for lies. Instead of worshiping God, we're worshiping other idols. Our honor gets exchanged for shame. Wisdom gets exchanged for foolishness, and life gets changed to death. But then our minds darken, our hearts harden, and our soul starts to decay. And this news that Paul's talking about, it isn't just ancient history. Cut on your TV. It's the evening news, right? Envy, murder, strife, deceit, malice, arrogance, sexual confusion, hatred of God, investors of evil. People are disobedient to their parents, that we've lost a lot of love and definitely don't have mercy anymore. And the final blow of all of this is not only is this in practice, but people applaud it. So Romans chapter 1 isn't just a chapter about them, it's a chapter about all of us, about humanity, about a world without God. But there's the setup here, this dark drop, but the diamond of the gospel shines even brighter. Because Romans chapter 1, it diagnoses our disease. In Romans 1:16, well, it shows us the cure, the gospel, power of God, the righteousness of Christ, and salvation of all who believe. This is the message that Paul carried. And this is the message the world needed then and even needs today. So the world doesn't need more opinion. We've got plenty of that. It needs more truth. It needs more light. And it needs more of the gospel of Jesus. So this Romans 1, let this be a wake-up call, a warning, a diagnosis, and your doorway to redemption. So stand bold in your faith. Stand unashamed in your faith. And stand in the power of the gospel of Jesus. This is Rod with RA Salt and Silver. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.